Hello and welcome to our big interview of the year. While the COVID crisis has been tough, rough, it will leave marks and a lot of scars. This crisis has also created an opportunity for good companies to transform and to take a giant leap forward. And one company which in a sense has redefined its position and business model is TCS. I'm very proud to say that TCS now is the most valuable IT services company in the world. In 2020, it has overtaken Accenture. TCS, in terms of market cap, is the only IT company in India which has a market cap of nearly 10 lakh crore. If the last quarterly guidance is anything to go by, TCS now, in terms of business, adaptation, dominance and relevance, is filing full cylinders. So how exactly this tough year has transformed the Indian IT sector, more importantly TCS, what are the changes which are permanent and what are the changes which are transient in nature? To discuss all that and much more with me, it gives me great pleasure to bring on board Rajesh Gopinathan, CEO of TCS. Rajesh, fantastic to have you back on ET Now. Thank you for joining us. Now, this is a tough year. It's been a rough year. But this year also has created wonderful opportunities for a company like TCS, where the dominance, relevance, and the importance has only increased. So walk us through that how and why this COVID crisis has turned out to be an opportunity which you've been able to navigate and you've been able to come out from.
Nikunj, fantastic to be back on ET Now, and I hope you guys had a great Diwali and are all staying safe and healthy. As you said, this has been a phenomenal year in many ways. It is unbelievable what we have gone through, but what is most important is the resilience with which we, all of us, whether it is TCS, whether it is you yourself in ET Now, or the rest of the industry and the economy, has been so resilient and so adaptable. And the true human spirit has been at the forefront of the way we have bounced back and dealt with this unprecedented pandemic. So first of all, I think as we end the year and look back at it, it is a year that gives us a lot of confidence and a lot of hope that when the chips are down, collectively, we will all get together and do the right thing. And we are a very resilient bunch. Having said that, I think as with any such unexpected transformative periods, the changes that have come about will have their mark long into the future. When I look at it from a TCS perspective, I think there are a couple of them which are kind of interrelated, which will significantly shape the way we go forward. From a first side is the technology part, where if you think back to what our business 4.0 construct and the four underlying technology pillars, one of them was cloud. And over the last 3 years, while it had been gaining traction, I think this pandemic has significantly accelerated that transformation. And it is very important, not just from a technology platform perspective, but it introduces another thing which is even more important, which is what we call borderless operations. So we have spoken about borderless operating model from a TCS talent perspective. But if you really think about it, the real long-term trend that will redefine industry structure, operating models, is this idea of borderless organizations. And organizations that can seamlessly partner and seamlessly collaborate in larger ecosystems to be able to deliver value to the customer. And we will see industry after industry getting transformed through this borderless operating model. And we ourselves are at the forefront of it, and we ourselves are transforming the way we are operating. But I believe the real excitement is the implications it has for the wider set of customers that we serve. So if you look forward into the next 5-10 years, I think the seamless fabric of technology enabled by cloud, the seamless fabric of talent enabled by provider like TCS, and this underlying operating model of borderless organizations is what is going to redefine the industry for the next many years to come.
If COVID would have not happened, do you think this kind of a digital transformation, especially on the cloud front, which you referred to along with your Q2 numbers, would have not opened up? Can I say that?
It's not a question of yes or no, but it would have taken a lot longer. See, the technology relevance has always been long accepted. What the question that was haunting people was, what is the right time to do it, and what is the ROI of a decision like that? What is the payback? And there we were comparing that I have a good asset base. It is fully depreciated or partially depreciated. So what is my incremental cost of using that asset base? And should I wait for its end of life before I switch over to cloud? So when the renewals were happening, they were always happening on the cloud. But there was not enough push to move away from the existing estate onto a cloud-based estate. That question has been answered through the whole COVID crisis, because the power of resilience, the power of adaptability, the power of security that cloud provides was very visible. If your business was up and running within a week or so, and compared to a competitor who was taking, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks or a month or more, the business value of it was immeasurable, not just in the immediate profits and revenues delivered, but in terms of the confidence it generated with the customers on terms of whether you're a reliable provider. So the equation with which these cloud transformation decisions were being evaluated, that has completely changed. And that is what has given this accelerated push, and which I believe that the next few years we're going to see significant traction and a lot more acceleration on a path that we were anyway on.
In your presentations, you've made that the cloud penetration, even in big countries like America, is not even 30 to 35%. So can I safely assume that the growth which you're talking about in terms of digital migration, you can perhaps see the visibility of this kind of growth and this kind of transformation for next 3 to 4 years, and this is just not a sugar rush?
Absolutely. Definitely, this is not a sugar rush. And to that, I want to go back to what I said about borderless. So if you think about what companies are going through, if you take banking, for example, the entire product set of the bank has got unbundled, and they were getting cherry picked by individual best of breed providers, whether it is mortgage or it was auto loans or any of the individual product sets. But what the response to it has been that they need to change their operating model from a product sale led operating model to a more perpetual, interactive, rich relationship with their customers. And that requires operating model that is similar to ours in the way we deal with our customers. So the consumer oriented companies didn't necessarily enjoy operating models that involved significant interactivity with their customers. And that is going to change, or that is currently changing, and that change is getting accelerated. And to do that, it requires both a technology platform and, more importantly, a partner ecosystem platform that can actually allow you to operate in this borderless world. And when you think about borderless ecosystem kind of an operating world, your value proposition changes significantly. It is no longer the current functionality or the how good your current product or service is. It becomes a lot more about who you are and what are the values that you stand for, and are you a reliable partner in the long term. And that kind of purpose-led operating model is the model of the future. And as clients will shift to this purpose-led operating model, they will seek out partners who have always operated in that model, who have a history of having successfully transformed and stayed over decades in a purpose-led transformative model. So I believe that that is the industry structure of the future, and cloud is only an enabler to it, which will accelerate this path. And therefore, it is by no means a sugar rush. It is a defining characteristic of the next decade's infrastructure, as you would say.
There are two ways a company grows. One is the size of the opportunity, and second, market share gain. What would be your endeavor now? Focus on the big pie or focus on grabbing more market share also?
Both, Nikunj. Both dimensions are there. Let me put it in perspective. See, we have about 1,000 odd customers. For about 500 of them, we are a significant provider, $5-10 million of revenue a year, which, irrespective of the size of the customer, is a fairly big size relationship for both parties. But even if I look at my top 500 customers, I would say that for the less than 10-20% of the customers, we have the kind of relationship that I described, where we are actually a complete holistic partner, where we are operating in this kind of an ecosystem model, where we are bringing everything that we have, and the customer also knows that we are in it for good. So that kind of a relationship is still there, only with a very less than 20% of our customers, and that is the huge opportunity to grow inside our own customer base, to systematically keep on expanding the richness and the sophistication of the relationship, because these are fundamental value pillars for us, and we have demonstrated that value to many of our existing customers, and that forms a phenomenal reference base. So there is huge headroom to significantly transform the extent of this kind of relationship that we have in our existing customer base. And then when you look at the extended market, we are, as you know, less than 3% of the market. And should you be 3% or 5%, I don't know what the right number is, but 3% leaves phenomenal headroom for expansion into the uncontested areas and what you call market share gains. So huge opportunities in that. And none of this addresses the fact that technology is continuously redefining industry structures worldwide. So it is bringing our addressable market even more, expanding our addressable market even more. So multiple dimensions of growth, but all coming out of this common core, which is built on our own values.
I just want to clear the air a question which perhaps people are asking, that as Indian IT companies like TCS, they migrate into a different delivery and technology platform like cloud and digital implementation, what are the chances that they now will have to compete with the US big tech companies who are also in the business of cloud and infrastructure? Up until now, Indian IT companies have always competed, let's say, with an Accenture or an Cognizant. But now, do you think the market share and the landscape, competitive landscape, could be very different?
The beauty of our industry is that it's always evolving. So the landscape today and into the next 5 years will be quite different from the last 5-10 years. But the way I see it is that it is, as I said, an ecosystem play. The value that we bring and the value that technology providers like the hyperscalers bring are distinct. Now, will there be some level of diffusion of the boundary? Probably, but we should be comfortable with being cooperative and competitive at the same place, and that has been a long-standing principle. I believe the extent of transformation required and the extent of transformation challenge in front is so high that there is much more value in working together than in working against. And that will be the underlying principle of collaboration that will guide these relationships. Beyond 5-10 years, what happens, we don't know today. but we need to trust in the dynamism of this industry, that the change will happen, and all that we need to do is to position ourselves appropriately to continuously keep ourselves relevant to our customers. And I'm very confident in TCS's ability to do that, because it goes back to our fundamental beliefs. If you think about this whole digital transformation, and if you think about the dialogue that we used to have, let's say 3 4 years 5 years ago, there was a lot of skepticism that can TCS transform. And we used to be very steadfast in saying that our commitment to our people is strong. And we are very confident in our ability to actually retrain and reskill and build on the contextual knowledge that we have, so that we will be ready for the digital transformation opportunity that we see. Today, now nobody is questioning whether that is there or not. So TCS has been a story where we have always been building on our beliefs and been very, very purpose-led in terms of our commitment to our customers, our commitment to our own people, and that has turned out to be a very winning strategy. And I don't think that we need to, in any form, move away from that. So we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to build on belief as we look forward.
And it's a great point. While COVID may have been a catalyst, Rajesh, frankly, TCS was forward looking, and they started retraining, and they had retrained their workforce 2-3 years ago already for this kind of a transformation. So my question to you is that when do you think the old business will be less and the new business automatically will take over? And how do you see the revenue pie changing now? Because if the revenue pie is changing, and if you are doing more work which is in terms of adaptation and also in terms of relevance, could there be a permanent reboot in the kind of margins which you have?
Not necessarily, Nikunj, because we have been constantly going through this transformation in our services over the last many decades now. So the margin is not a factor of the services that you provide. The margin is a factor of the relative competitiveness that you enjoy, relative to both your customers and relative to your competitors. So as long as we do not lose relative competitiveness, the broad margin framework that we operate in should be secure, and we should be able to defend it. Obviously, this is not a given. It is not a static kind of a situation. We need to constantly keep investing, constantly keep transforming. But I believe that it's in many ways like riding a bicycle. You are in a state of dynamic equilibrium. And as long as you keep pushing forward and you have the skills to deal with the ups and downs that come, it is not an unsafe place to be in.
What is your assessment of the big picture? When I say IT budgets, do you see that changing dramatically for next couple of years, or there is going to be an incremental change only now?
The IT budget as a concept will probably need to be relooked at, because there will be the budget that is owned by various parts of the organization, and that will go through ups and downs. But the overall spend on technology and the spend on services, I'm sure in industry after industry, will continuously expand. Now, who controls the spend? How does that come to the market? Who do we interface with? We have to be prepared to constantly evolve. And that is a space that we have been also investing in significantly. Our addressable stakeholders and the engagement maturity and the engagement sophistication that we have across a wide spectrum of stakeholders is continuously going up. And it's a two-way process, because if you think back 5 years ago or 10 years ago, many of the functional stakeholders didn't care much about technology. And when you don't care about technology, you don't really care about who your technology partner is. But now, technology has become a fundamental differentiator for function after function. And therefore, there is a greater need and a greater openness to engage with your strategic partner on the technology side, irrespective of what your own functional responsibilities are. So on one side, we are stepping up and investing in increasing that engagement. On the other hand, they are also stretching out and seeking out that engagement. And in our last customer summit that we had, the spread of non-technology executives who attended was phenomenal. We were almost like 50% were non-technology executives who were up on stage. So the tech budget will need to be rethought of, and the addressable market is definitely significantly increasing.
You've raised the bar higher with your Q2 numbers. That was the bumper quarter. Is that the benchmark now, or growth now in future could be more moderated?
I think there was a significant element of catch up going on in Q2 and hopefully for the next few quarters. But I'll be happy to be back on a double-digit growth trajectory. And I think the opportunity exists for that. And as we look forward into next year, definitely the momentum is there. And as we look beyond, as I said, there are enough positive elements around the entire industry ecosystem that should allow us to continue on that trajectory.
So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I don't want to get this one wrong, Rajesh. If I say that double-digit growth for the Indian IT sector is not a distinct dream, it is achievable, will I be right?
I think so, Nikunj. It's definitely a real and achievable target, and something that we are 100% going for.
The real success for the Indian IT sector and for companies like TCS is the entire people transformation. Work at home, 90% plus workforce is now working from home. How did the magic happen? Can you walk us through that? How were you able to adopt to this new model, both in terms of resilience and leverage of technology?
Yes, actually, Nikunj, you nicely put it. There are two dimensions to it. Well, I'll come to the technology and the operating model dimension first. If you think back in terms of what we used to discuss 2-3 years back, we had said agile is a very fundamental transformation that we need to be completely committed to in our industry. And we had put up a very ambitious target in 2017, saying enterprise agile by 2020. And at the time when there was skepticism both on whether agile is the right model and B, whether TCS will be able to adopt it at scale, we had actually gone out and redefined the target and committed ourselves 100% to it. I'm very happy to say that we recently just celebrated that 2020 anniversary, and we are now at more than 85% of our revenue comes from agile projects, and more than 75% of them, more importantly, actually use TCS agile principles for their operating model. Now, this is very important in the context of what we went through in what we call the SBWS transformation. Because as we adopted agile, we were automatically going away from the old, what was called the ODC construct. And we were experimenting with newer forms of working called agile open workspaces, more collaborative working infrastructure, and more continuous collaboration using always on video channels, continuous stand-up meetings. So the level of interactivity and collaboration that had got designed into project delivery and the ability to break work down into much smaller work packets with very tight monitoring and very tight project management in a very collaborative way was inherent in our transformation through agile. When COVID came about and we had to distribute the workforce and suddenly we had to switch to a 100% remote working model, all these principles and all this infrastructure that we had invested in became very, very critical in enabling the aggression with which we were able to adopt what we called the SBWS, or the secure borderless workspaces model. So SBWS was not something that came just out suddenly because of the COVID lockdown. It actually is built on a very strong foundation of both technology leverage and operating model transformation that we have been on for the last 3 years. That's one part of it. Equally important is the people part of it, because like I said about digital, we had been continuously investing in people for digital transformation and for agile transformation. We had declared more than 350,000 people had been agile trained by the end of last year itself, way before the COVID crisis struck. And we are by far the largest pool of agile trained professionals in the entire industry, not just in the industry, in the entire world. So our commitment to people training also was a big factor in being able to shift to this model. And the most important part of it is the value part of it. That our 100% commitment to people, saying that we are invested in them and we are invested in their future, also got reciprocated big time. What we saw would not have been possible without the outstanding effort of individual TCSers who really went out of their way to seamlessly pick up work from each other, teams helping out across locations, across different projects, etc. So we are in it together. We are in it all together, and we're committed to each other. That is a big part of the output or the outcomes that you saw. So when we said that project quality did not suffer, customers were astounded by what they saw. Customer after customer came on and praised the kind of response that they saw. Underlying this is all of this. It is the philosophy of commitment, which got reciprocated big time. It is the investment in people and methodologies. And it is the enabling technology infrastructure that we have put together to actually operate in this borderless model.
It's so good to hear the kind of adaptability Indian IT sector and TCS has done. It is simply magical, isn't it? A couple of last follow-up questions. We are talking about disruption, we are talking about adaptation, and we are talking about agility. So this hybrid model which you've referred to, and you've said in the past that the hybrid model is here to stay. What will this change? How will this change? And how will you be able to leverage it going forward? Because this is a big change in the way how Indian IT and TCS will be doing business now.
Yeah. See, there are things that will change and things that will stay constant. Let me first talk about the things that will stay constant. At the end of the day, it is about teams working together and having a well-oiled way of working together, because that underlying trust and that underlying relationship is the key to everything. So we have invested in building that trusted relationship continuously, and we'll continue to invest in that. So the team is central to the entire idea, and it is not about individuals operating remotely. So building processes, when we say 25 by 25, it is at any point in time, not more than 25% of people, but any given individual definitely spending 25% of the time in office and in a planned way. And the nature of interaction in office changing. So we were using this idea that earlier we would say that we will go off-site for collaboration, right? Work used to happen in office and collaboration will happen outside the office. That will get turned on its head. Office will be the place where people will come for collaboration, and work per se might happen at home or at some other place, or maybe even in office. So we will redefine the way office spaces are used, how work is distributed across these locations. So the underlying aspect of team building, the underlying aspect of people working together, having continuous interactivity, both in the digital world and in the physical world, will not go away. What will change is our ability to fungibly move around talent across the organization. So we ourselves, more and more, our vision is to operate as a talent cloud, that rather than individuals being assigned to individual tasks at all points in time in a static way, how do we dynamically assign work to a pool of people, and how do we create that capability as a seamless capability that will get the work done rather than link it individually to one person or the other. So the approach to talent as a collective talent, as collective knowledge, rather than as discrete individuals, I think that is the big change that will get accelerated with what we are currently seeing. And we will operate in that manner of being able to actually harness this collective knowledge and be able to make that available seamlessly so that we can actually get the task done, irrespective of where and who does it.
Really on a lighter side, and it gives me great pleasure as a journalist to be associated with TCS both in non-listed avatar and listed avatar, and talk to this kind of a great wealth creator. But if I talk about Rajesh Gopinathan's journey, he will complete 25 years with the Tata Group soon. He has 3 phases in last 25 years. First, a global role, then a CFO, and now CEO. What would you attribute your success to? Luck, hard work, discipline?
All of it. In fact, when I address our freshers and all, I keep saying that success owes it to hard work, aspiration, and luck, and being at the right place at the right time. And all 3 factors are important and have contributed to both my success as well as anybody else's that I know. So I think the important thing is that at any given point, whatever is the role and the opportunity that you have in front, staying focused on that and doing the best possible. It sounds a cliche, but quite frankly, that is what has worked for me. And most importantly, not just for me, if I look around in my own leadership team, you will find that that is the DNA of TCS. Each and every TCS leader is characterized by these attributes. They all work extremely hard. All are very aspirational. All stay focused on delivering to their best in whatever role that they have. And the organization and its culture ensures that people get opportunities in newer areas over time, so that they get multiple opportunities to actually showcase what they can do. So I could think that I owe my success as much to what I said as to the philosophy of the organization, which always provides the growth opportunities to its own people and always takes the risk on its own people. And that has played well for all of us as well as for the organization.
Tata is the most trusted brand in India, and TCS is also not trying to build a brand. You are advertising, not that I'm complaining, but what are your plans to build the brand?
I think as we move more and more into this ecosystem mode, into this borderless mode, where the level of trust and what we stand for needs to be constantly reiterated and reinforced into a much larger population. So earlier, our relationships were much more one-on-one, and they were built over time, and we had a very trusted set. So if you talk to any of our customers or any of our employees or partners, there was a very strong appreciation of what we stand for, not necessarily the external market. And we used to grow through word of mouth and individual relationships. But as we look forward into the opportunity that is out there, and more importantly, the operating model that is out there, the ensuring that this perspective is shared by the wider ecosystem is very important. And I think what we are attempting to do is to make sure that what our customers know us best for, what our partners trust in us, what our employees see in us, is appreciated by a much larger ecosystem. And we are using the opportunity to step up the communication to that. And once again, this is not a one-off thing. We have been on this journey for 2-3 years. because this is very different from the way we used to behave a few years back. So we initiated a process internally called the AAA program, which stood for awareness, articulation, amplification. A greater awareness of what is it that we do and why it is valuable for the stakeholders involved. A more holistic articulation of that value creation and our role in that, and wider and amplification of that to stakeholders outside those that are immediately impacted by that individual activity. So we have been on this journey for the last 2-3 years. And as we built on that, this brand articulation that you see into the external universe is a logical extension of that expanded communication strategy that we.
We always talk about the last 90 days and the next 90 days, and this time, since we are talking about next 3 to 5 years, I'll take the opportunity of asking a couple of things which nobody knows about Rajesh Gopinathan. What is one habit of yours you would say is a different habit, which is in a sense associated with you?
Now you got me stumped. I am always curious. I am, whenever I see something, I need to know why it is so. And, so that has always helped me a lot, because I like to get to the bottom of what is going on. So I'm always aware, always curious. And yeah, that's something I would say. The other is I don't think too much about these things. So that may be the other characteristic.
Which is one quote which has always inspired you? If there's a billboard and you have to write a quote on it, which is one quote which you always refer to, which is your inspiration?
Actually, in recent times, and when I say recent, I mean the last 5-10 years, I've been very inspired by Steve Jobs' quote saying, "It's not the customer's job to know what they want." And that, I think, is fundamental to the transformation that we ourselves are going through. And I think it nails it on the head as to both where the opportunity is and as well as what the transformation challenge is. So by far, that's my beacon for many years now.
Which are the 3 books which are always part of your library or always on the desk, and non-IT books?
Oh, no steady books always on the desk. At any point in time, there are different ones. So right now, I have, in fact, I referred to this in another interview, so I'm kind of repeating myself here, but there is a nice historical book by Charles Allen, who recently passed away. He's written this, I think his main book was on Emperor Ashoka, the forgotten emperor. I'm always fascinated by history because in many ways, the scale is different, the thing is different, but the challenges are similar when you abstract it out. So that's a nice one that is currently there. And another one that has been driving my curiosity is this whole citizenship issue. So I'm reading a few books around that. As to the one that is currently I'm looking at is just more a thing of what the citizenship laws of India are and their history of evolution of that. It's a fascinating thing, because when you think about the immediate period post-independence, the nature of challenge that was faced by the people who actually got the laws together, the need for pragmatism, the need for structure, an amazing job done in a very, very crunched period of time. And then democracy kicks in and it has its own nuances as to how that evolves. So very fascinating story and the kind of stakeholders and the issues involved.
Okay. Well, wonderful to have you on ET Now. Best wishes for a wonderful year ahead to you, your family, and to the entire TCS family. Thank you so very much for joining us. And let's close this interview with a big smile on your face. I mean, this year TCS has done magic not only for shareholders but also for employees, and keeping the Indian IT flag high.
Nikunj, thank you very much. And from our side also, wishing you and your family and the entire extended ET family the very best these holidays and a very fantastic Happy New Year ahead. Looking forward to meeting up again and getting on to our regular schedules. Hopefully that will come soon in the next 3 to 4 months.